Hey, we're back with Coindesk Live. I am Bailey Reitzel. I'm the multimedia editor at Coindesk, and we are at Consensus 2019, the third day of Consensus 2019. We are pulling speakers, panelists, attendees from out of the crowd and just asking them about the state of blockchain, what they do. So right now, I would like you guys to introduce yourselves and tell me a little bit about your project. And you had some announcements as well.
Yeah, Steve Cerveny. I'm CEO of Kaleido. And we're a consensus company. Our focus is on enterprise blockchain. We're a SaaS platform.
Cool.
We've partnered with Azure and AWS. We run a cross-cloud platform for enterprises to essentially come and get their own blockchain.
Okay.
And what we announced today, in a nutshell, is what we're calling full-stack blockchain. And so what we're seeing with clients is that blockchain has been a journey, and they've started at the bottom thinking about the tech. But as the technology matures and as the market matures, what we're seeing is a realization that there are actually a lot of problems beyond the chain, and that really only 5% of their projects is the chain itself. So we launched a marketplace, and we've launched a number of new services that go from the storage through the middleware and the data layers and all the way up to the app. So it's very exciting for enterprises to have one place to grab all those services, plug and play from our marketplace, and they're off to the races.
Okay, and so you're a client here. Tell us a little bit about your company and how you're using those services.
So my name is Souleïma. I'm the CEO of komgo. And so we come from the trade and commodity finance industry, which is a very, very much paper-based industry and has always been operated only with paper, which is quite unbelievable today. And what we're trying to achieve here is moving digital to get more efficiency and more security in our everyday operations. So it's an industry play, and we're backed by 15 big companies from the industry, so 10 banks. 5 corporates, and so we teamed up last year. We incorporated komgo in August in Geneva, and we selected Kaleido and Consensus to help us move to the production stage. So our digital journey started approximately 2 years ago with pilots, POCs, like most of us do, but we have decided to go to production fast because we think it's by fronting the users that we will be able to build the right solution. And those guys have been tremendously helpful in achieving this move from piloting to production in a short period of time and a very efficient period of time. So it took us 6 months to issue the first letter of credit on the platform.
Okay. Yeah, so for a paper-based industry, is it hard to hop directly to blockchain, like such a new technology? You know, sometimes you have little steps in between, but you're going from paper to the newest thing.
You're right, and it's an everyday challenge to change the way people operate, because that's what we're facing today. But the good news about blockchain is that it's the first time this industry has a workable technical solution to make this happen. Because this industry is really attached to privacy by design, to decentralization, and there was no mean to do that before.
Right.
So it's a fantastic news, and I think the industry knows it has a unique chance to make this happen currently.
Okay. And is trade finance, are the people that are traditionally in trade finance, have they been receptive to the idea of decentralization?
It's a key value in this industry. I mean, trade finance by nature is a decentralized business because when you operate in transaction, you have a buyer in a country, a seller in another country, you have to use shippers, warehouses, all those people are completely spread all around the world by definition. So it's an industry that knows how to manage decentralization, but not in an efficient way and not in a secure way. I mean, the biggest risk of the industry today is fraud. You have fraudulent documents flying all over the places. So obviously, blockchain is a fantastic answer to that, and on the komgo network today, you can exchange those documents in a secure way and have a huge mitigation to this fraud risk, for example.
Okay, and so can you sort of explain what your private blockchains look like? Or does it depend on your client, what you build?
Well, one of our kind of core tendencies is flexibility and choice. So we offer multiple flavors of blockchain. We let people choose their consensus algorithms and configure everything, all the way from the bottom to the top of the stack. It's sort of a self-service platform as well. So one of the most fun parts of my job is talking with innovative clients out there, really around the world, who are using blockchain for just many different things. And so we realize there's no one size fits all. There are industries where privacy is really, really important, and there's not just one way to do privacy with blockchain. There are multiple different techniques that are used that have different trade-offs. So the design principle of Kaleido is to give as many choices as possible, and then to let clients really shape the solution that they need.
Okay, and just stepping back a little, you can ask questions to any of our panelists by tweeting at us with the hashtag CoinDeskLive. So sort of coming back to that idea as well, are there any 2 to 3 features that like has to make a blockchain? Does that make sense? I know this has been an argument in the space for some time, or a discussion at least, like what is a blockchain? And I don't think there's a really straight definition, especially when you get into like public versus private. But in your mind, are there 2 to 3 things that like make something a blockchain?
Yeah, well, I think what really makes a blockchain is consensus. If you start with a database as kind of the starting point, and then there are what are called distributed databases where there's one leader and everyone else is a slave. What really you get into blockchain where you say that doesn't work. All of these copies of the database are independent, right? And so they vote, and that's what consensus is. And there are many different ways to do consensus. But that really makes blockchain. And then what Ethereum added really on top of that, or was the first big one to do, was to say, look, let's not just make it about the data layer, let's do smart contracts on top of that. So it's about the business logic. And then binding all that up in a consensus process really unlocks a lot of opportunity for the entire B2B space. Because businesses operate on contracts, right? And some of them are paper-based, some of them are slightly digital, but kind of the blockchain then becomes in the enterprise world the first platform that's built. If you think about us in the consumer world going to Facebook and going on to a platform, businesses have been left behind. They're now going on to a platform with their relationships, which are contract-based, in these decentralized platforms, and it's a full stack challenge, which is why at Kaleido, we're going beyond kind of just the blockchain discussion and going into full stack blockchain. The last killer feature that I will say with blockchain, kind of having at least thrown out my definition for critiques out there. There's many opinions. Is around tokenization. Okay. And that was the topic of our main stage presentation a few minutes ago. How really tokenization is driving a shift, and there's now a realization in the enterprise world that tokens aren't just cryptocurrencies out there. They're really these digital assets. And every contract is about something. It's about some asset. So then tokens become the killer app that every enterprise needs to build into their network, into their use cases. And it allows them for the first time to collaborate on this shared network and have a common view of these assets, their history, their state, their lineage, and so on.
Right. So yeah, before we got on, we were talking a little bit about how like trade finance is maybe not super crypto. They're not ready for crypto yet. But so they see a difference between crypto and this idea of tokens.
Correct.
Okay.
And digital assets are key in our industry because as a bank, as a financier, you finance against a collateral, and a collateral is an asset. Okay. And the headache of the industry today is to move these assets from one party to the other, and that's the future, obviously. So currently we're really building the basic bricks that will allow us to then put these digital assets in the different financing products, and it will even open new businesses for the industry. For example, distribution today is a nightmare in our industry because we have short-term transactions. We cannot distribute them. With those digital assets, we're going to be able to create portfolios and distribute the business. So it's going to bring a lot of liquidity and flexibility to the industry, that's for sure.
Cool. And you have been, do you want to add to that? Go ahead.
I just wanted to say one very positive thing that we see coming out of this week, in the last few weeks, is around tokenization. The Ethereum community has really been a leader in the space with their ERC, all the different types, fungible, non-fungible, and half fungible, whatever. There's a bunch of them now. And with the EEA and that standards body, the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, now coming out with Hyperledger, the other large enterprise blockchain community, and saying together, we're going to create this token taxonomy. And we're going to actually think through how tokens fit into the world and start pushing that spec. I think that's a huge step forward. I was just talking with the CTO of a major bank, and they're talking about just how important standards are, right? For the industries to really have confidence and to start using these. As you're saying, they're the future, but how do we get there?
Right, yeah.
A big step this week.
Totally, yeah. I think standards are really important as well. I've worked with the W3C quite a bit, but people think standards are really boring. I think they're fascinating, but most of the time you can't, you're like...
I'm on the boring
they
side.
I know, well, they just like glaze over and you're like, no,
though.
but this is really important. So I totally get it. So we have a question from YouTube actually, so that's exciting. This is a good one too. Are private blockchains a stepping stone for corporations? And will corporations move to public chains when they're comfortable? Do you see that in the future?
Awesome question. And I will tell you honestly, I don't know the answer, but I'm very excited for how things will evolve. What I will say as Consensus, a very unique company in the world that has one foot firmly in the public blockchain space and the other foot firmly in the private space. And so we actually feel like as Kaleido, as kind of the leading enterprise platform on this side of it, that we see a responsibility and an opportunity to be on the leading edge of how that all plays out. So what we've done to date in our marketplace is we've launched services around tapping into public blockchains. Okay. So I think there's a crawl, walk, and a run, and no one knows exactly what direction you end up running in, but the crawl's already happening. So really briefly how the service works, just to illustrate this, is you set up a private blockchain. It's a set of organizations who it's permissioned, they know who all the parties are, but there's only a small number of them, right? And here's the public blockchain over here with many thousands of nodes. Infeasible to go back and change the history of it. So we created a pinning service. It's a well-known and talked about pattern in the space of taking the state of this chain at regular intervals and putting a small hash up on to the public blockchain, and it's there forever. Yeah. And you have the hash of who signed each transaction, so you can't get into these collusion scenarios after the fact. So it's just one use case, but people are using it today. We have a client that was on stage with us for $1 of ETH. They protected over 50,000 transactions, right? That occurred for some campaigns that they did for major brands out there, like Kroger and T-Mobile.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. We will be back shortly with more Coindesk Live. Stay tuned.